The Grand Council Chamber of Concordat Central Station had witnessed 10,000 years of galactic history. Commander Olivia Chen had reminded herself of that fact every morning for the past 3 weeks, letting the weight of it settle into her bones like ballast. It helped maintain perspective when your species chair sat 3 rows from the back, wedged between the methane-breathing Quilix delegation and the empty space reserved for civilizations that had gone extinct before humanity learned to make fire. The chamber itself was a cathedral of alien architecture, a dome that stretched 200 meters overhead, its surface embedded with holographic projectors that could display the native environment of any of the Concordat's member species. Humanity's position spoke volumes about their standing. Olivia adjusted the collar of her diplomatic uniform, the crisp navy blue marking her as Earth's chief envoy, 32 years old, former naval intelligence officer, holder of 3 degrees in xenopolitical theory that hadn't prepared her for the reality of being dismissed by beings who measured their histories in geological epochs. The matter of territorial disputes in the Outer Veil sector, droned the Thalkir chair, has been brought before this body by the esteemed Krevnash Dominion. Ambassador Krevnal, you may present your grievance. Olivia's attention sharpened. She'd known this was coming. Her intelligence briefings had tracked the Krevnash military buildup near human colonial space for 6 months. Ambassador Krevnal rose from his seat in the 3rd ring. The Krevnash were imposing by any species standards. 3 meters tall, 4-armed, their chitinous plates gleaming like polished obsidian. His 4 eyes swept the chamber with the confidence of a predator addressing prey. Honored elders, fellow civilizations, the Krevnash Dominion brings to your attention a matter of grave concern regarding territorial integrity. 30 standard years ago, the species known as humans were granted provisional membership. At that time, they possessed one world, primitive rocket technology, and had not earned faster-than-light travel through innovation. They had stumbled upon a derelict predecessor drive and reverse-engineered it with all the grace of children playing with their parents' tools. Scattered resonance of agreement rippled through the elder species sections. Despite this, Krevnal continued, the Concordat welcomed these newcomers. We expected humility. Instead, we have witnessed reckless expansion. He gestured, and a holographic display bloomed above the central podium. 15 points of light marked human colony worlds. 15 colony worlds in 3 decades. 15 intrusions into territories that elder species have recognized as strategic reserves. These colonies sit atop mineral deposits essential to Dominion industrial development. Resources we have documented, surveyed, and claimed through proper Concordat protocols dating back 600 years. Ambassador, the Thalkir chair intoned, does the Dominion seek formal censure or territorial redistricting? Krevnal's mandibles spread in what Olivia recognized as a smile. We seek immediate cessation of human colonial activity in the disputed territories. We seek respect for the order that has maintained galactic peace since before these humans learned to nab flint. Olivia activated her communication channel, sub-vocalizing to her staff. Assessment? The response came through her neural link. Krevnash fleet. Movements confirm military posture. 300+ warships in sector. The chair recognizes Commander Olivia Chen of the human delegation. Olivia stood, aware of every eye tracking her. At 165 centimeters, she was smaller than 90% of the chamber's occupants. Honored chair, esteemed representatives, humanity acknowledges the Krevnash Dominion's concerns. The 15 colony worlds in question were established in full compliance with Concordat protocols governing unclaimed space. Sections through of the settlement charter explicitly state that claim stakes older than 200 standard years without physical presence are considered abandoned under the doctrine of productive use. She pulled up her own display. The Krevnesh mineral surveys were filed centuries ago. No follow-up development occurred. Under established law, these territories were available for settlement. The arrogance of infants quoting law they do not understand, Krevnal replied. Those protocols assume claimants of comparable civilizational standing. They were never intended to permit primitive species to override the documented claims of elder races. The settlement charter contains no clause establishing tiered rights based on civilizational age, Olivia replied. If the ambassador believes such a clause should exist, he is welcome to propose an amendment, but selective application of existing law is not proper channels. Commander Chen, a new voice interjected. Counselor Yuritem of the Yaniri Communion, her six-limbed form graceful despite her species' arthropod appearance. While your interpretation is creative, surely you understand the spirit of these regulations is to prevent conflict. If the Krevnesh have expressed concern, would it not serve galactic harmony for humanity to seek compromise? There it was, the reasonable voice urging the weaker party to bend. Counselor, humanity is always prepared to engage in good faith negotiations. However, we currently have 4.2 million citizens living on these 15 worlds. Families, communities. We cannot simply abandon them based on claims that were legally dormant for centuries. Cannot? Krevnal's voice dripped contempt. Or will not. There is a difference between inability and refusal. One suggests unfortunate circumstance. The other suggests deliberate defiance of this body's will. The will of this body is expressed through its laws and charter, not through the demands of individual members, regardless of their age or military strength. The last words hung in the air like a challenge. Olivia had just forced everyone to acknowledge that the Krevnesh were making a threat. Krevnal's mandibles clicked. You speak of military strength as if you possess any. Earth maintains 67 warships, ancient designs. The Dominion could sweep your entire fleet aside in an afternoon. I would never presume to mistake anything about the Dominion, Olivia replied quietly. Just as I trust the Dominion would not mistake humanity's commitment to protecting our citizens. The Thalkir chair chimed for order. This matter will be referred to the Territorial Disputes Committee. Projected timeline for initial recommendations is 6 standard months. 6 months? Krevnal's voice cracked like a whip. While humans continue extracting resources that belong to the Dominion? This is unacceptable. The committee's timeline is established by charter. Then, perhaps the committee should understand that the Dominion's patience is not infinite. We will resolve this matter, with or without this body's timely assistance. The threat was naked now. Olivia watched the chamber's reaction. Some uncomfortable, others calculating. Counselor Yuritem spoke again. Ambassador Krevnal, surely you are not suggesting unilateral action. The precedent was established when humans were permitted to ignore 600 years of documented claims. The Dominion is not establishing precedent. We are restoring order. He turned to Olivia. Commander Chen, I suggest you contact your government. The Outer Veil territories will be resolved one way or another. The Dominion has shown remarkable patience with humanity's learning curve, but every education has final examinations. The session dissolved into procedural discussions, meaningless bureaucracy that would be overtaken by events. Olivia maintained her composed exterior while her neural link filled with urgent updates, Krevnesh fleet movements, evacuation logistics that couldn't possibly succeed in 72 hours. As delegates filed out, Counselor Yuritem approached. Commander, I meant no offense with my earlier comments. I sought to provide an avenue for de-escalation. I understand, Counselor. Sometimes offering compromise to aggressors just teaches them that threats work. Yuritem's antenna twitched. The Krevnash have not made empty threats in 3,000 years. If they have brought this matter before the Concordat, they have already decided how it will end. Then they've made a mistake, Olivia said simply. Your species is brave, but bravery without power is just a footnote in someone else's history. The Yaniri have experienced Krevnash pressure for 2 centuries. If there is anything we can offer, diplomatic support, perhaps sanctuary for refugees. I appreciate that, Counselor, truly. But humanity didn't come to the stars to be anyone's refugees. The emergency request hit Concordat Central Station's bureaucratic system with all the urgency Earth could muster. Priority Alpha classification. Invocation of Charter. Article 12. Imminent threat to member species. The response arrived through Olivia's neural link. Request received. Emergency session. Scheduled. Standard days from current date. 2 weeks. The Krevnash ultimatum expired in 72 hours. They're not even pretending to help, President Elena Martinez said from across the command center in Geneva. The crisis room hummed with quiet intensity beneath the Swiss Alps. Around the central holotable stood Earth's military leadership, Admiral James Webb of the Orbital Fleet, General Yuki Tanaka of Colonial Defense, and Marshal Elena Volkov, the woman who had spent 3 decades secretly building humanity's true military capability. Volkov's silver hair and weathered features spoke of someone who'd made peace with necessary violence long ago. The Krevnash fleet has completed its encirclement, reported Commander Sarah Chen, Olivia's younger sister and chief military intelligence analyst. Her voice was steady, but Olivia caught the slight tremor in her hands as she manipulated the holographic display. They'd grown up together in the same small apartment in Singapore, shared the same dreams of reaching the stars. Now Sarah's analysis might determine whether millions lived or died. 312 warships in optimal firing positions around our colonial clusters. But there's something else. Sarah's expression darkened. We've lost contact with 3 colony transports. The Meridian Hope, the New Dawn, and the Stellar Promise. They were carrying colonists between settlements when the Krevnash blockade went up. 842 people. The room went silent. Marshal Volkov spoke first, her voice cold. Destroyed? Unknown. But their last transmissions showed Krevnash interceptors closing. The signals just stopped. Olivia felt something twist in her chest. 842 people. Families. Children. Gone before the ultimatum even expired. Evacuation status? Martinez asked. We can lift maybe 200,000 in 72 hours if we strip every available transport, Sarah replied. And put them where? Ships designed for cargo, not life support. We'd save them from Krevnash weapons just to watch them suffocate in transit. Then, we don't evacuate, Martinez said quietly. We respond. Marshal Volkov stepped forward. Madam President, this is what we've prepared for. The Shadow Fleet is ready. 400 warships in the Outer Veil alone, with another 1,100 staged throughout the solar system. The Krevnash have no idea what they're walking into. Sarah looked at her sister. Olivia, I've run the projections. Even with our technological advantages, we'll lose people. This isn't going to be bloodless. I know, Olivia said. She thought of the colony ships, of the 842 who might already be dead. But neither is surrender. Olivia had been preparing for this moment since the Concordat session. Broadcast on all Concordat frequencies, public channels, diplomatic networks, Civilian feeds. I want every species in the galaxy to hear this. Within 90 seconds, she stood before recording equipment. Fleet Marshal Krevenal of the Krevnesh Dominion. 3 days ago, you delivered an ultimatum to the 15 human colony worlds. You demanded evacuation of 4.2 million human citizens within 72 hours. You threatened removal by force. She paused. On behalf of the United Earth government, no. We will not abandon our citizens. We will not surrender territory legally settled under Concordat Charter. We will not bow to threats from any power, regardless of their age or military strength. Olivia pulled up her holographic display. Fleet Marshal Krevenal. Marshal, you currently command 312 warships in the Outer Veil sector. Your flagship, Dominion's Fist, holds position at coordinates 447.32.18, accompanied by your command squadron. The battle cruisers, Knight of Knives, Endless Hunger, and Civilization's Triumph. She watched the data scroll past. Every ship, every commander, every position. Your vessels are equipped with Dominion standard plasma lance batteries, kinetic accelerators, and fusion missile arrays. Your shields operate on rotating frequency modulation patterns updated every 14 seconds. We know where you are. We know what you're carrying. We know your tactical doctrine. You gave us 72 hours to evacuate. We give you 72 hours to withdraw your fleet beyond Outer Veil boundaries and deliver a formal apology. We further require immediate cessation of all hostile military operations near human territory, including full accountability for the colony transports your forces have intercepted. She let that sink in. If you refuse, we will consider it an act of war and respond accordingly. We will not fire the first shot. But Fleet Marshal, if you force us to fire the second shot, your fleet will regret discovering what humanity has actually been building for the past 30 years. We've mastered technologies from that predecessor wreck you mocked, including capabilities your species hasn't dreamed of. Choose wisely. Krevenal's response came within 7 minutes. The Fleet Marshal was laughing. Humanity, you have provided entertainment we had not anticipated. Your intelligence gathering is adequate. Your threats, however, are the posturing of prey animals, hoping the predator will lose its appetite. You possess 67 obsolete warships and delusions of adequacy. He leaned forward. As for your colony transports, they violated a military exclusion zone. The consequences were their own fault. Your counter-ultimatum is rejected with the contempt it deserves. You have 68 hours to evacuate. After that, we will remove your colonists ourselves. Consider that education's final examination. Olivia watched the transmission end, her hands steady despite the ice in her veins. 842 people, dismissed as consequences. Sarah stood beside her, tears streaming silently down her face. The Meridian Hope, Sarah whispered. My roommate from the academy was on that ship. Her daughter just turned 3. Olivia pulled her sister into a brief, fierce embrace. We're going to make them answer for this, every single one. Hour 71 arrived. The Krevnesh sensors detected it first. Spatial distortions that look like faster-than-light drives, but wrong. Too precise. Too close. FTL jumps were crude affairs, depositing ships millions of kilometers from targets. Everyone knew that. Human ships appeared 3,000 kilometers from Krevnesh vessels. Not 67 ships. 400 warships materialized throughout the Outer Veil sector in perfect synchronization, already aligned on targets, weapons hot and shields deployed. Sub-Marshal Krevtas aboard the calculated Mercy had 3 seconds to register the impossible readings before 6 human ships surrounded his battle group. Krevnesh vessels. This is Captain Sam Rodriguez commanding the UESS Determination. You are ordered to stand down. You have 30 seconds to comply. The human vessels fired. Waves of electromagnetic energy washed through the Dominion vessels, targeted frequencies that interacted with specific elements in Krevnash electronics, rather than trying to overwhelm defensive systems. Every screen went dark. Every weapon powered down. But the Krevnash weren't entirely helpless. The destroyer group led by Sub-Marshal Krevnil managed to fire before their systems died. A spread of kinetic accelerators that caught the UESS Pioneer during her positioning maneuver. The human ship's shields absorbed most of the impact, but 2 projectiles breached her starboard hull. 43 crew members died in the decompression before emergency systems sealed the breach. Another human vessel, the UESS Vigilance, took a plasma lance to her engine section as Krevnash gunners fired manually in the seconds before their targeting systems failed. The explosion killed 17 more, and the ship would drift for 2 hours before rescue teams could reach her. Across the outer veil, the pattern repeated. Human ships appeared, delivered warnings, then disabled their targets. But victory came with cost. Where Krevnash crews managed to return fire, human vessels paid the price. By the time 37 Krevnash ships went dark, 60 humans had given their lives. Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the channel, grief audible beneath his professional tone. Fleet Marshal, this is your 71-hour notice. We have disabled your Vanguard. Your crews are unharmed. Your life support is fully functional, but your warships will remain powered down until you accept our terms. Krevnil's 4 eyes burned with fury. You think this demonstration changes anything? I have over 275 vessels remaining, and the Dominion has already dispatched reinforcements. The High Command has mobilized every available warship. You will face the full might of our empire. Then we'll be waiting, Rodriguez replied calmly. 3 weeks later, the reinforcements arrived, not to the outer veil, but to Earth itself. Fleet Marshal Krevnil stood on the bridge of the Dominion's fist as his armada translated from faster than light into humanity's home system. 800 warships, the largest military force the Krevnash had assembled in 3 centuries, every vessel the Dominion could spare from its other conquests. Krevnil had learned caution from the Outer Veil engagement, but he'd also learned that humanity bled. They could be hurt. They could be killed. And surely, whatever hidden fleet they possessed couldn't match the combined might of the Dominion's entire military reserve. His command staff moved with practiced efficiency. Sensor sweep complete. Human defensive positions. Fleet Marshal, this cannot be correct. The holographic display shifted, showing Earth's orbital space. Thousands of vessels. Defense platforms the size of cities. Ships. So many ships that the fleet registry counters kept recalculating. 1,500 warships, the tactical officer whispered. And those platforms, those weapons. From Luna's shadowed surface, massive doors opened in what the galaxy had believed were mineral processing facilities. From Mars's orbital ring, vessels emerged from camouflaged berths. Throughout the asteroid belt, installations revealed their true purpose as warship after warship powered up. Concordant observer vessels stationed at the system's edge, 7 ships from species monitoring the conflict, began emergency withdrawal, their captains unwilling to be caught between what came next. Marshal Elena Volkov's face appeared on every channel. She was older than the commanders Krevnil had encountered before, her eyes carrying the weight of someone who'd spent decades preparing for exactly this moment. Fleet Marshal Krevnil, I am Marshal Elena Volkov, Supreme Commander of Earth's Defense Forces. You were warned at the Outer Veil. You chose to escalate. You murdered 842 civilians on those colony transports, and now you've brought your entire fleet to our doorstep. Her voice hardened. What happens next is on you. The human fleet wasn't moving into position. It was already there, having executed FTL microjumps so precise they'd appeared within optimal firing range, while Krevnal's sensors were still processing. The same impossible precision they demonstrated in the outer veil now multiplied 1,000-fold. "All ships combat formation," Krevnal roared. The battle lasted 72 seconds. Electromagnetic pulses erupted throughout the Krevnash formation, precision instruments that targeted specific frequencies in Krevnash electronics. 500 vessels went dark in the opening salvo, but the Krevnash were warriors. The remaining ships opened fire with everything they had. The destroyer UESS Horizon took concentrated fire from 12 vessels. Her shields collapsed, and the explosion killed 214 crew. The cruiser UESS Stalwart lost her entire forward section when a Krevnash battleship rammed her rather than surrender. 417 more died. 3 other human ships, the Singapore, the Defiant, and the Morning Star, were destroyed outright by vessels whose crews chose death over defeat. Human vessels moved with coordination that spoke of AI-assisted networks. Kinetic kill vehicles materialized throughout the Dominion formation, solid projectiles moving at 0.3 light speed. They struck weapons arrays, propulsion clusters, command decks. Each impact disabled rather than destroyed, but the Krevnash, who chose to fight, ensured the price was paid. By the time the last Krevnash vessel capable of offensive action lost power, humanity had lost 8 ships and 887 lives, added to the 60 from the outer veil, 947 total. The Dominion's fist hung in space, its 800 sister ships floating dark and helpless around it. Marshal Volkov's hologram materialized in the center of Krevnal's bridge. "Fleet Marshal Krevnal, you gave us 72 hours to abandon our families. We gave you 72 seconds to end your invasion." She gestured, and holographic displays showed the scope of the human victory. 800 Krevnash warships disabled, 8 human vessels destroyed, 947 human lives lost, plus 842 civilians on the colony transports. Your war is over. Your crews are alive because we chose to keep them that way. You came to teach humanity its place in the galactic order. Instead, you've learned what happens when you mistake patience for weakness. Krevnal found his voice. You cannot. The Dominion will never. The Dominion will accept our terms, complete withdrawal, reparations, and war crimes trials for commanders who ordered attacks on civilian populations, including the destruction of those colony transports. You've lost ships, Krevnal said, desperate for any victory. We killed nearly 1,000 of you. Yes, Volkov replied, her voice heavy with grief. And we will remember every name, but Fleet Marshal, you lost 800 warships in 72 seconds, after losing 37 more in the outer veil. Your pride cost us 947 military lives and 842 civilians. It cost you an empire. Krevnal made one final choice. His species had not built an empire by accepting defeat gracefully. He's triggering self-destruct, Rodriguez's tactical officer reported. Flagship's fusion core is going critical. It'll take out every ship within 20 kilometers. Rodriguez had 4 seconds. Quantum displacement, now. Put him in our brig. The technology humanity had reverse-engineered from the predecessor wreck, the same precision teleportation that allowed their ships to appear exactly where they needed to be, now reached across the void and plucked Krevnal from his bridge. He materialized in a human detention cell as the Dominion's fist exploded. The UESS Determination interposed herself between the detonation and the Krevnash crew sections, her shields absorbing the blast. Inside the brig, Krevnal watched through observation ports as human crews began emergency rescue operations, not for human personnel but for Dominion crews whose own commander had tried to murder them. "You saved them," Krevenal said. "My own people. I tried to kill them, and you saved them." "That's what we do," Rodriguez replied. "We fight when we must, but we don't kill when we don't have to. Your crew didn't deserve to die for your pride." For just a moment, something flickered in Krevenal's 4 eyes, something that might have been doubt, or shame, or the first crack in a lifetime of certainty. Then his mandibles hardened. "It changes nothing. The Dominion will never accept." "The Dominion already has," Rodriguez said quietly. "Your high command surrendered 10 minutes ago, when they saw what happened to your fleet. You're the only one who hasn't accepted it yet." 3 months later, Olivia Chen stood in the rebuilt Concordat chamber. Humanity's chair had moved from the back rows to the inner circle. Earth held a permanent seat on the Security Council. 23 species had signed the Coalition for Mutual Defense Treaty, with humanity as founding guarantor. The Krevnash Dominion had fractured into reformation. Fleet Marshal Krevenal stood trial before judges from 6 species, convicted on all counts, including the murder of 842 civilians on the colony transports. Counselor Yuritem approached Olivia after the session. "When I first met you, I thought you were the bravest fool I'd ever seen. A species of 30 years standing, defying an empire of 3,000. Her antenna dipped in what Olivia recognized as a gesture of respect. "I was wrong. You weren't brave fools. You were patient builders who refused to let fear make you small. You gave us something we'd forgotten was possible. Our border colonies are secure for the first time in 2 centuries. Our children sleep without fear." "We gave you the opportunity," Olivia replied. "Your people seized it." Sarah Chen stood nearby watching the exchange. She'd been promoted to Director of Coalition Intelligence. Her analysis during the crisis had proven invaluable, and her personal loss had given her a fierce dedication to ensuring no other families suffered the same fate. The sisters exchanged a glance. Years of shared history and recent trauma passing between them in silence. President Martinez delivered Earth's first State of the Galaxy address. Her message was simple. Humanity had come to the stars not to conquer, but to coexist. They'd built weapons from necessity, remembering what happened to the defenseless. Earth offered partnership to those who sought it, protection to those who needed it, and warning to those who threatened either. The memorial on Earth's orbital station listed every human who had died in the war. 947 military personnel who fell defending their species, and 842 civilians, the crews and passengers of the Meridian Hope, the New Dawn, and the Stellar Promise, whose deaths, before the first shot was fired, had proven the threat was real. Olivia visited that memorial often over the years that followed. Admiral Rodriguez, promoted after the battle, coordinated coalition fleet exercises from Lunar Command. 7 species had contributed vessels to the Joint Defense Force. The Krevnash Dominion reformed itself, younger leaders emerging who saw partnership as strength rather than weakness. Yuritem's communion flourished under the coalition's protection, their border worlds finally free from the shadow of conquest. Decades later, Olivia, now elderly, her dark hair turned silver, brought her granddaughter Anya to the memorial. "I still think about them," she said, running her fingers over the carved names. "Every decision I made during the crisis, I made knowing their sacrifice had bought us time to prepare." "Did it matter?" Anya asked. "Would things have been different if humanity had just surrendered?" "The Krevnash would have taken our colonies. Then they would have demanded more. Then more again, until humanity was reduced to a single world under their supervision. That's what conquest looks like. It doesn't stop until there's nothing left to take. She paused at one name, Lieutenant Maria Santos, her sister Sarah's academy roommate, who had died on the Meridian Hope with her 3-year-old daughter. These people died because the Krevnash believed humanity was weak and helpless. The coalition exists to ensure that no species ever faces that kind of threat alone again. The memorial she visited most often stood in Geneva's Central Park, names carved in stone, representing the cost of the galaxy finally understanding what humanity had been building for 30 years. Not conquerors, but protectors. Not aggressors, but defenders. Not the weak newcomers the galaxy had dismissed, but something far more dangerous to those who threatened the innocent. Patient, prepared, and absolutely unwilling to sacrifice their people for the comfort of predators who mistook silence for surrender. The galaxy had learned that lesson, and with each passing year, more species chose to answer correctly.